Back with you on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. Find us, subscribe, leave us a comment. And, of course, find us free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Leave us a 5-star review there. Give me a follow on my personal Twitter page. That would be at JMCH316. So what changes in the dynamic of the Eastern Conference now with the Dejounte Murray trade? Do I think that the Hawks are at the same level as Boston? Let's say, let's put a group of 3 teams at the upper tier of the Eastern Conference. I think Milwaukee, Boston, and the Miami Heat fall into that group, right? I think that's the very, very top of the Eastern Conference. Do the Hawks fall into that group now? Probably not. I don't think they're better than Milwaukee. I don't think they're better than Boston. I mean, let's be honest. Milwaukee has the championship pedigree, right? Milwaukee has an outstanding coach. They've got maybe the best player in the entirety of the NBA and a great roster all the way around. And that's a destination spot. And, you know, they've obviously made themselves into a championship team. The Celtics, well, they've got multiple, first, all NBA caliber types of players, great defensively, probably not quite there yet. And then Miami, who, of course, beat the Hawks in the playoff series. I still think that they're one of the upper tier teams. So if I leave those 3 teams in the top part of the Eastern Conference, I don't think the Hawks are quite there yet. But as far as the next group of teams, the Chicago Bulls, the Cleveland Cavaliers, potentially the Brooklyn Nets, but they're such a dysfunctional organization that you don't know what you're going to get. Is Kyrie going to play 80 games or 8 games? Is KD going to be happy? Do we ever see Ben Simmons come back on the court? I have no idea. So they're so dysfunctional that, yeah, they could be the best team in the Eastern Conference and win 70 games. They could also be a team that's barely hanging on and trying to get to the playoffs, right? They're the complete Jekyll and Hyde, Dow Jones kind of team in the Eastern Conference. But I think when you start to look at that next group, and it's, Toronto, Cleveland, the Bulls, and, the Nets that are in that group, Hawks are right there with any of those teams. There's nothing about the Atlanta Hawks by adding Murray that says they can't get back to a top 4 spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, what has to kind of happen to get them back to that spot? First and foremost, they got to stay healthy. That includes, by the way, Dejounte Murray, John Collins if he's here, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella. If Bogey's here, he's got to be healthy. They have to be healthy. It can't be Collins plays 54, Murray plays 66, Capella plays 63, Bogey plays 58, DeAndre Hunter plays, 64. Can't be that this year. They have to stay healthy. That's part of it's gonna take. We should be past COVID and all these kind of other things and all that good kind of stuff that slows you down, right? As far as what happened last year for the Hawks. But they have to stay healthy, number 1. Number 2 is they have to be coached well. They can't be every night after a loss to the Pistons on a Tuesday night. Well, we just weren't mentally there. We just weren't ready. We didn't have that drive. We didn't have that want to. We weren't motivated. All this nonsensical stuff that I heard all last season. I don't want to hear that this year. I don't want to hear it from Nate. I don't want to hear it from Trey. I don't want to hear it from anybody. And the final thing is they have to be focused every night. And I'll explain a little bit more of that here in just a second. But want to mention my friends over at Arcade 1-Up. Listen, NBA Jam is back. Arcade 1-Up is the leader in home retro arcade games. And now it's not only bringing back the best game ever, but they've made it bigger than ever with a Shaq Edition machine. So listen, we know NBA Jam is one of your favorites of all time. It's one of the first ever sports games to feature real and digitalized NBA licensed teams. There's no fouls, there's no free throws, no quarters required. You can compete with friends and family through an all-new Wi-Fi leaderboard system, making you more connected than ever. So pre-order now from arcade1up.com. That's arcade, the number 1, up.com for an estimated early September ship date. Arcade 1-Up is the place for fun, but they've got even more classics. If you're looking for Golden Tee, you're looking for Mortal Kombat, You're looking for all kinds of other games. They're starting at just $399. So check this out. Okay, listen up. They're giving away an NBA Jam Shaq edition to one of our Locked On listeners. Okay, enter for a chance to win a game console for your man cave at arcade1up.com/locked on. That's arcade, the number one, up.com/locked on. You've got till July 8th to enter to win an NBA Jam Shaq Edition console. Don't miss out. Enter today. And besides, what else you going to play with, right? So, look, the other thing about this is that they have to be motivated and ready every night during the regular season. And that was obviously the buzzword, Trey come on, well, we're not excited about the regular season, and we're looking at the playoffs and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. They can't look at it that way this year. They have to be focused every night, because even when they had everybody together, there were still, plenty of bad losses that were mixed into all of that, right? You still had the Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons, and they lost that game to the Houston Rockets on their home floor. You still lost to some of the dregs of the universe, and you can't blame that on back-to-back and this and that, whatever like that. So now you've got your two stars, okay? So, for instance, this is what we've talked about. Let's say you're going to play Wednesday and Thursday night. Let's say Wednesday you're in Washington and Thursday you're home with the Rockets, okay? You got a decent team on the road, and then you got a dreg of the universe team, a pond water team coming in to your place on Thursday. It can't be that we fight, scratch, and claw, find a win on Wednesday just to turn around and lose on Thursday. And that's where having multiple stars comes in, right? If Trey, for whatever reason, he's been beat up a little bit on Wednesday, they're up in Washington, all right, and he kind of tweaks his ankle that's been bothering him for a week or something like that, right? And you want to come home on Thursday and you'd like to sit Trey, but you need to win this game. Okay, now with Murray, you can sit a guy like Trey and say, okay, let's give him a rest for a night, but we still have our star and our other pieces, and let's still go beat a bad basketball team. And that's how this has to be. If you're going to swing the pendulum back to where we talked about, to the Eastern Conference Finals, you have to handle your business like that. You have to win that back-to-back game. You have to beat the dregs of the universe. You have to find a way to get it done on some of these teams. You can't rack up losses to the Pistons and the Magic and Houston. You may lose a game here or there, but it can't be we come out, we're flat, we blow a game or this, that, and the other on our home court or what have you. You have to handle your business night in, night out. So they've got to be healthy. They have to coach better, and they've got to be laser focused on what the regular season is. And I think that message has come through loud and clear from Travis Schlenk. Most importantly, Tony Ressler, the guy who signs the checks for these guys. I think they all understand now that, hey, we can't sit back and just roll the basketball out and everything will be fine. So can the Hawks get themselves back up into the top part of the Eastern Conference top four? Absolutely. Are they better than the Bucks, the Celtics, or the Heat? Maybe not quite yet. I think now that they get themselves a little bit closer to the Miami Heat, there may not be as good a defensive team all the way around, but having a guy like Murray is another guy who can create a shot. He can distribute the basketball. He's certainly a good enough defender to match up with anybody on the Heat side of the basketball. So I think that gap is closed. But certainly when you talk about, can we be better than Chicago or Toronto or the Nets or whatever? Absolutely. There's no reason why. Remember a couple of years ago when they made that Eastern Conference Finals run, they did have the fourth best record. They were the fifth seed because they lost the tiebreaker head-to-head to the Knicks, but they had the fourth best record in the Eastern Conference that year. So there's nothing about this team that says they can't get back up into that upper part of the league and secure a playoff spot and forget this whole, man, let's win a play-in game and we got to play multiple nights and we've got all these built-in excuses. That's not going to fly this year with adding Dejounte Murray. All right, when we get back, you can't deny that Kyle Wright is not an all-star at this point. We'll talk about that next. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.